So, Lindsey Graham's got a bill in Congress right now where if it passes, it will put 500% tariffs on anybody that trades with Russia. And China. Oh, and this is the stuff that I wrote down before the tariff debacle that is going on. But we'll get to the tariff debacle later. So before any of this stuff happened, China, who is Russia's biggest trading partner, affirmed that they won't be scared off by American tariffs. Then Sergei Lavrov, actually in this meeting with Wang Yi, he highlighted some ongoing efforts to establish a new Eurasian security framework with China. So essentially floating ideas out there about maybe Eurasian NATO, some sort of defensive block between China and Russia.
That, I imagine, is causing quite a few anxiety-induced stomach aches I'm sure. In Brussels and in Washington.
And while all this is going on, that there's American posturing about going to war with Iran unless they can sign a deal with the United States that they will not create nuclear weapons, even though they already promised Russia that they won't create nuclear weapons. And there's been the Ayatollah has put a fatwa out saying that Iran will not produce nuclear weapons. And Russia just yesterday, I believe, Russia ratified its strategic partnership with Iran that included a caveat that said that Iran would not seek nuclear weapons as long as Russia provided them with, latest generation of fighter jets and to help them beef up their air defenses and to give them some more, advanced weaponry and stuff like that. While all this is going on, Iran resumed uranium enrichment. And that's what had triggered this most recent demand from the United States. But Iran and Russia have agreed to a joint uranium enrichment venture on Russian soil so that Russia can oversee the uranium enrichment and they can send the enriched uranium to Iran, which Iran will use for their nuclear reactors.
Well, also Israel can't they can't do airstrikes.
Yeah, in Russia.
If it's being developed in Russia, yeah.
Right. And Putin has expressed willingness to mediate tensions between the U.S. and Iran, advocating for diplomatic solutions. But there's actually talks going on right now between Iran and the United States being mediated by a third party who I think it's one of the Gulf states. I think I'm in Oman.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Because they are across the Persian Gulf, they have a direct interest in there not being
a war in the region.
Yeah.
So that's going on right now. There were supposed to be secret talks, but Trump fucking posted about it on his social media. He's a teenage girl. He did that. He also did that during talks with Russia. Talked about things that he wasn't supposed to talk about.
I mean, that shouldn't surprise anybody at this point.
What do you think that the Russians think of the United States for having elected Trump? Like, they've got their diplomats are like people that have been diplomats since the Cold War that are like incredibly experienced, and then we're sending like Steve Witkoff, and who's not a diplomat. He's like a real estate investor who doesn't even know the names of the oblasts that Russia is demanding. And, it's... I
mean, they almost certainly just see... I mean, I think basically what we see, that this is an empire in terminal decline. And all the expressions of it are a back and forth between people like Witkoff or else people like Blinken,
Yeah.
So basically you have you're going to go kicking and screaming, or you're going to go unaware. Right. Those are your two options. But either way, I imagine what they think is like, we don't have to be worried about these people.
Speaking of clown shows, let's just a quick piece on the U.S.-Ukraine mineral deal that Zelensky rejected. We talked about this last week, and it's been in the news enough, so I don't think anybody needs us to recapitulate what that was about. But apparently the agreement's details being leaked have caused an enormous political uproar in Ukraine, leading to several internal investigations where Zelensky is having his entire staff take lie detector tests to figure out who leaked the memo about the mineral deal, which has led a lot of people to speculate that he might have signed it if people didn't know about it.
Oh, yeah, almost certainly he would have. I imagine this is also making Zelensky's position far from unassailable. Like, it's making it very tenuous.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it would seem like. Okay, so I already mentioned Lindsey Graham's sanctions that he's trying to level against anybody who trades in Russian oil. And that would be, funnily enough, India and China mostly. So these are two countries that have been hit pretty hard by Trump's sanctions and who are also BRICS members. And you know what people were saying about BRICS will never work because India and China hate each other too much. Yeah. But, you know, I mean, there's a really good way to get India and China not to hate each other so much, and that's to force them to be the only people that each other can trade with. Hungary has been circumventing EU efforts to reduce Russian gas imports by acquiring it through Serbia using the Turk Stream pipeline and then selling that gas to Slovakia. So they've been able to increase their consumption of Russian gas, pissing everyone in the EU off. The EU is on its last legs, man. It's on the ropes. Oh, yeah. It's not going to last for very much longer.
And again, you know, it's kind of amazing that it has lasted as long as it has.
Yeah, for real.
And fuck them.
And talking about these sanctions, proposed sanctions for anybody that buys Russian gas, which now China has to, if it's not going to buy American gas. Russia has been reducing its reliance on its oil and gas revenues for the past 5, 6, 7 years. I don't know exactly how long. So Russia is much more than just a gas station. Their manufacturing industry has grown rapidly in the past 4 years. And now they've got an internal consumer goods market that didn't exist before.
Primarily because of sanctions.
Right. Yeah, well, definitely because of sanctions. That's 100% because of sanctions. So it's really not clear how much an American sanctions, let's say if they even did go through, because what's the point now with Trump's sanctions having gone through, if they would actually hurt Russia as much as Lindsey Graham thinks they would. So as far as American support for Ukraine is concerned, Pete Hegseth skipped a meeting related to Ukraine support, the contact meeting, which happens every so often in Germany, where all of the Western powers get together to figure out how they're going to help Ukraine. So, you know, Pete Hegseth didn't show up, meaning that there was no American representation there. And that is very, very clearly meant to signal a shift in priorities. You're on your own, Europe. That's what that means.
I mean, that's one of the more rational moves made by this administration, which is otherwise utterly chaotic and utterly irrational and changes its mind, not even on a daily basis, but on an hourly basis.
Yeah, and so essentially the Russians have been saying, like, we don't even need you to lift sanctions. We don't really care. The sanctions have helped Russia restructure its economy and reduce its dependence on the West, which hates it. So, you know, we're not in a huge rush to lift those sanctions. So it's not like it's anything enticing for us to have them lifted, nor does it matter much that you want to level new ones. And there's supposed to be a new Trump and Putin call soon. And at the same time, Europe has decided that there should be European relations with Russia at some point for whenever things calm down, and so that Europe can be represented in any kind of peace talks with Russia.
So you now that Europe can matter a little bit?
Yeah.
Still?
They don't like being left out, even though it was their decision to completely cut off any kind of diplomatic contact with Russia. But now they're trying to come up with an idea for who is going to represent Europe to Russia. Kaja Kallas wants to be the representative because that's her job. But Kaja Kallas.
If I was Russia, I would say pick someone else.
Well, Kaja Kallas is a bloodthirsty fucking psychopath.
I mean, that's why. Yeah.
She wants war with Russia so bad. But you know who's put themselves forward is Macron. And why would Russia ever listen to Macron? Macron was the one who's leading the charge to put troops in Ukraine and who had secretly allowed the entire French press to listen in on a private phone call with him and Vladimir Putin. He's persona non grata in Moscow. I don't know why he thinks he's going to put himself forward to be the representative of the EU, except for that he's got his complex about being the most important person in Europe.